dedicated to each and every one of you who appreciate a great glass of wine. You know what I mean?
It's Monday. Let's raise a glass to the beginning of another week. It's time to unscrew, uncork, or saber a bottle, and let's begin exploring the wine glass. On today's episode, I'm joined by the brilliant mind behind Wine Folly, Madeline Puckette, a graphic designer turned wine educator who's made wine approachable, visual, and dare I say, extremely fun. We talk about her unexpected journey into the wine world, her collaboration with Paso Robles, and what she sees on the horizon for wine education. And because no good podcast is complete without a little oversharing, Madeline blesses us with a moment of, wait, you'll just have to listen to this one. But it did have us both laughing. You won't want to miss this one. It's educational, inspirational, and just the right amount of TMI. Let's dive in. While you're listening, it would be greatly appreciated if you could take 1 minute to subscribe, rate, and review. It takes only a few seconds of your time, but means so much to the show. Also, please be sure to check the box for automatic downloads so that episodes of Exploring the Wine Glass show up in your next up feed. The next best way to support Exploring the Wine Glass is to tell your friends. If you enjoy the podcast, your wine-loving friends will too. Follow me on all the socials. And finally, don't forget to head to the website, Exploring the Wine Glass, to read the blog, sign up for the newsletter, and keep up with all happenings. Slancha.
Give me the wine. Oh, yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Lori Budd, a UC Davis winemaking program, Spanish wine scholar, sommelier service, champagne and Côte d'Aron specialist, and a WSET Level 2 graduate. You can find Exploring the Wine Glass on all the socials, as well as your favorite podcast catchers. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to swipe, subscribe, rate, and review. Stay in the know about all things wine by visiting my website, exploringthewineglass.com. I promise I'll never tell you what to drink, but I'll always share what's in my glass.
Irish coffee, banana, daiquiri.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Exploring the Wine Glass and Allure of the Pour. I am so happy today because I am sitting down, sadly virtually, but hopefully soon in person, with Madeline Puckette of The Wine Folly. And if anybody is into wine, even the littlest, actually, even if you're only into it a little, then I think you are even really more familiar with Wine Folly, because whenever you Google anything, Wine Folly is the first thing, number one on Google, that gives you some education. So Madeline, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. But we go way back.
We do. It's been a while. It's been a while. I think your very first book you sent me a pre-copy of, and then the complete book and all of that. So it's been a while.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I think you might have been harassing us on Twitter or something like that about
Probably.
Cabernet Franc, and it was really cool. And she's like, wow, she actually knows a thing or two. This is pretty impressive. Let's see if she wants to do something with us. It was really awesome. It was really great.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I might be a bit obsessive about Cabernet Franc, just a bit. And it's fun when I meet other people who are obsessive also, and your ability to bring wine education. There are so many people who say, we try to take the intimidation out of wine and we try to teach wine as being approachable to everybody. But you don't just say it, you are the leader of that, mission to make it understandable and easy to comprehend. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting when I think back to the choices that we made early on to do that. It was always show, don't tell. We're one of the things that sort of show, don't tell is one of those things that sits in my head. And then always thinking about, what am I walking away with everything that we do, with the reader, what piece can they walk away with easily and actionably? And I think that's what led us to make choices. And those choices involved editing, which usually involves cutting things. And it's really offensive when you learn about wine. There's so much information, to know how and what to cut. And that, I think, is one of the hardest things that I've been learning how to do, is that choosing what to say the right thing, so that when you find your way into wine or you learn a fundamental thing, you know enough to move forward, but you haven't been overwhelmed with information so that you don't want to keep learning.
Right. That's absolutely true, because I know when I'm writing articles, I have that massive tendency to go down rabbit holes. And so it's supposed to be like an 800, which I kind of believe is where the max is in people's retention, so I have like an 800 word article that I'm supposed to be writing, and then I go down rabbit holes, and next thing I know, I'm at like 2,000 words, and then like, okay, backtrack, this is now 4 articles. But I think that your artwork and your presentation is by far the most recognizable and education anywhere in the wine world. I think every time I see an image, I automatically know it's Wine Folly, it's Madeline's artwork. It's so pronounced that it's you.
Yeah, it's definitely been something of the skill, sort of a background skill of mine was art and design. So just even for my own, learning, was to try to make sense of something. I think when I look at words, it gets jumbled. So I'd started drawing pictures to make sense of the things. And when you draw a diagram, you need a lot of information in order to draw the diagram. So you find yourself researching more in order to clarify questions that are unanswered. And I think that's what, when I started making maps in 2013, I didn't even know what I was doing. It was just an Illustrator file with some shapes on it. It wasn't actually a geographic information system. And I remember having to learn new tools, how to actually do cartography, just to try to level up my own design skills to do a better job. And I'm glad I did it, because geographic information systems are very scalable. There's scalable devices, and now we have so many maps of the world now. And even like working with wine regions and correcting the maps, or having them tell me about a new region, and then getting that access to that information so we can update our maps, has been extremely incredible. I feel like I'm on the front lines of new things that are happening in the wine world. For example, I just added, did you know there's a new AVA in Napa Valley called Crystal Springs of Napa Valley?
I did not.
Yeah, it's been since like the 80s since we've had the AVAs in Napa Valley, and there's a new one, and it's next to it's like on the front face side of Howell Mountain.
Oh.
And it's called Crystal Springs of Napa Valley, and boom, it's there. It's on the map now. But I have to update California, North Coast, Napa, like a big list of maps to update. And all these different places where it lives on our website, because we have these online high-res versions that you can access. Right. So yeah,
I had no clue. And yeah, that blows my mind that they just come up and you're like, oh, here's a new one. And okay. And I never even thought about all the work you now have to do.
Yeah, we got to update all the things and all the articles that have it. Oh my God. Please don't change anything.
Yeah, keep all the AVAs the same. No more AVAs. You're in or you're out. That's it.
Yeah, so I have to admit though, it's exciting when you get a new one, because then you're like, well, what's there and why is it special? Yeah. Because they had to prove that in order to get a new appellation. And it's very rare that things change in other countries, like in France. But occasionally, recently, they upgraded several Macon villages to Premier Cru status. And that's a big deal, because that southern part of Burgundy, where they grow all the Chardonnay, has always been the ocean of Chardonnay that you get from France. It's always been a great value. And it was if you knew a thing or two, you could get really good wines for very affordable, because they weren't Premier Cru. And now they're Premier Cruise. So I'm like, oh, darn.
Stock up, stock up. Well, I'm going to give you a heads up that you're going to be needing to update a lot of other things. Beaujolais is studying, they've spent all of this money to study the soils. And they've learned that there's 300 different types of soils throughout the Beaujolais region, and they are going to start creating the crews in each of the regions of Beaujolais. So they're working towards that.
Whoa.
Yeah, I went to an event on Monday in LA and I was blown away by the amount of research that they've done and how they've dug into these soils at like kilometers apart from each other and how far they went in. And they found these 300 different soils and they're going to start focusing in on that.
So are they going to create something like a cruise, not like single vineyard cruise? Is what
I
you're
think
thinking?
so.
Yeah,
I
'cause
think so.
when you're talking about soil types, there's like we always talk like Beaujolais is decomposing granite. That's what everyone says. And it's pink granite, it's decomposing, it's great. It makes great wine. It makes it aromatic, it reduces tannin, it's great.
Mhm.
But if you zoom in, any region has hundreds of different soil types, so they have to be doing it on the site level, on the individual level.
Yes.
And I'm not surprised because I just tasted maybe 2 days ago a Bauge from Morgon, and I thought it was Tannat.
Oh, wow.
I got blind tasted on it, and it was so bold and so tannic that I was like, and then he pulls out the bottle and he's like, no, it's Morgon. And I was like, I am a fool.
Yep.
I couldn't identify the Beaujolais.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to guess it was Bluestone because that was in this thing. That's what they were talking about is that power that Bluestone gives off. And there was a Morgon that I was like, this is Gamay? Really? This is,
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't identify it because it was so ripe and fruity and simultaneously with high tannin. The color was a giveaway. I was like, this is a weird pale colored for a Tannat.
Right.
I went all over the place with that guess.
Yeah, so just be prepared, get those maps ready because I think you're going to be in a few years you're going to be modifying them. I
think Gamay, that grape, is making a comeback because Pinot Noir is great. It's the greatest, whatever. That's what people say. I'm not a grape preferential person. They're all my children. I love them all equally.
Yeah.
But not really. But
that's the proper thing to say.
I like to think of it that way. I like to think of it that way because there's something special in every grape. But Pinot Noir is definitely one of those grapes that's like it can punch well above its weight class across the board with everyone. But Gamay is incredibly dynamic, and we haven't really seen it growing in very many places. There's not a lot of other regions that also specialize in Gamay.
Right.
You know, kind of like Pinot Noir in Oregon, you know, or Sauvignon Blanc in New Zealand.
Right.
We don't really have a Gamay of blah.
Right.
But if we were to have this Gamay of blah, I think we would see all the dynamism that this grape can actually do. Did they talk about the edict in Burgundy that basically canceled Gamay from Burgundy? They used to plant it in Burgundy,
right?
But then it was like in the late 1300s. It was a long time ago that they were that organized. They were like, get it out of here.
Out of here. It was, you know, the presentation was really all about the soil types.
Oh, wow. So you were nerding out / possibly snoozing, depending on how fast they were talking.
I was nerding out. I was geeking out big time. It was very good, but there was that little statement of, you know, well, you know, Burgundy's like, nope, Gamay, get the heck out of here. Yeah. Yeah. So it was wonderful. And that's, you know, bringing it back to Wine Folly, it is about that education and some of us love to geek out, and others are just dipping their toes into it. And you have that ability to entertain us both and to educate both of those levels of wine lovers. And but you had brought up that you were a graphic designer basically to start off with, and now you're a James Beard award-winning wine educator. Like, how do we go from A to B, and where do you see that click that went from A to B? Like, how did you decide this is the route I'm going?
It was not obvious in the start. It felt like pushing rocks up hills, heavy rocks up hills at first. It felt like we're going to do all these things and it's going to work. And this is how it's going to work. Now go. And so we started doing these things and nothing was happening, basically. And it wasn't until I started to modify and try things differently. I was writing articles. We were going to have a wine club online, and you would learn about it on wines on YouTube. This was back in 2011. So it was very early days of YouTube, and the whole idea, I was like, YouTube is the future, invest in it. It's funny because, oh, God, I wish I would have stuck with it. And
it has come full circle, right? It was big, it wasn't, and now it's everything again.
Yeah, it's true. And then I made an infographic to promote our wine club, and we posted it up on Facebook, like full resolution. This was back when you gave away everything for free. And sure enough, it's been, it's like was on print on demand in China and stuff, stuff like that later on. But it was really popular, and it was shared a lot by a lot of people. And people were like, I want to learn more about wine. This helped me make more. So I started to make more. And that's how I got into making infographics. The first one was a joke, honestly. It was a sardonic how to choose wine, where if it was for yourself, you would get the best wines. And if it was for someone else, you would get kicked out of the infographic, or you'd get them a bottle of vodka. Like, it was not actually a serious how to choose wine. We still have it on the website too. It's funny. But people kept asking, I actually want to know how to choose wine. And so then I was like, well, how do I answer that? I should figure out a way to do that visually. And maybe they'll like that, and they'll keep coming back to my website. So,
and they did.
Yeah. So that's how, and it's funny because I'm seeing the same thing happen with influencers, and they're finding their way in communicating wine in short form content. And the same thing is happening now, but it's with 37 seconds or less. So it's exciting times again. It's like, woo,
right?
You can blow up again. There was a time period where it kind of like slumped, and it was hard to do anything. And now it's back to the boom days of figuring things out. And I feel like I'm a kid again. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making a lot of mistakes. I'm doing a lot of work, and it's not paying off. Kind of like pushing the hill up, pushing the rock up the hill.
Right.
Yeah. So that's there was luck, and then there was consistency. So the luck was the one that popped off. And then I just kept doing more and more and more of them. I would consistently put out work. I did 3 articles a week for 10 years or more. And I worked 7 days a week for 7 years.
Yeah.
You run a tasting, you have a winery. So this is what we do for what we're passionate about. It doesn't feel that hard. You're just like, I just have to write 2,000 words, today, and of all the things in the world I could do right now, that's actually pretty great. I can geek out about wine, and I have to make it fun to read. That's the only goal. And if it's not fun to read, then I fail. So that's how I think about it. It's like, well, I could do anything else. I could be doing anything in the world right now. This is actually the best thing that I could be doing with my time. I know there's some crappy parts where you really want to go outside because it's beautiful, but you still have those 200 more words to write. You can't figure out how to close it out.
Exactly.
And you end up committing the time and you feel really good about what you've done. And then when you actually make something that hits, that people like and they connect to, it pays dividends. It helps them. They share it with other people. You get yourself out there, whether as you're an author or you're making an amazing product or you're contributing. You feel like you're contributing, and that feels really special.
And I know that the consistency thing is really big because I must admit I have not been on social as much as I should be or have been in the past. But I know you were doing the Wednesday wines of talking about giving characteristics of the wine that you're drinking, that you have in your glass, and you were asking people what they thought it was. Are you still doing that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The learn by drinking or learn by tasting things we're doing on yeah, we like I pushed them out and I did a really big push. We did tons of them on
Right.
YouTube and they started to flag and not do well. So I
Oh,
stopped doing those and I wasn't doing the exports to short form. Because right now with content production, it's you have to be everything and everywhere, or at least that's what I'm seeing.
mhm.
And and in order to do that, you basically go, well, this is the one thing we're going to make, and it's going to turn into this, and this, and this is going to cut down to short form content, and blah, blah, blah. It's going to distribute across all these channels. And so you're basically building a pretty good version for everything, but not a great version for any one
And
single thing.
right.
And I think that's why people who focus on a channel do really well because they're building just for that channel. And I think if I had the horsepower to do that kind of a thing, I would. But I currently it's like be present everywhere and only focus somewhere, especially. So I've picked YouTube yet again. I'm trying again. YouTube.
Bring it on back. Bring it on back. Um, so when you started thinking about the data that you wanted to put out there, and was that just your natural drawing ability? Because as I said earlier, it's very obvious to me when it's yours. If I'm scrolling social media or I'm looking online, I always know it's you, which is tremendous. That's tremendous. If you can create something that somebody always knows is yours, that is a tremendous feat. And you said that you just started drawing. So is that just your natural drawing? I'm kind of assuming now it's done on a computer, but hey, maybe not.
Well, I
They,
hand draw stuff on paper and then I scan them in and
okay.
colorize them when it's a hand drawing. And then I used to do graffiti when I was much younger. So I have a style of drawing. It doesn't look like graffiti now. Obviously, it looks like just illustrations. But they always outline when you tag or do anything like that. The focus is on the outline
Okay.
of the illustration because it's usually in a position on a dilapidated building somewhere, and you really need to make a space where the art exists, and that's essentially the core of street art. And so, if you look at my illustrations, you'll always see a strong outline, and I think that's one of the key features of what makes it. And it's pen and ink always. So there's like, I did go to art school, so I'm very obsessed with art. And I am obsessed with art because I went to art school. No, I've always been obsessed with art and how we're communicating in art. So I think I definitely have a style. But as far as like the design and the graphics and stuff, we are communicating information often. So choosing how the information is displayed and what is important about that information is also a thing that we're trying to do when we're creating designs. And I think maybe my hierarchical way of communicating information is somewhat unique to me. It's not very stock looking.
No.
To detriment to me, because here I am trying to make something that everyone will understand that's communicated universally. But yet again, I still continue to create this unique, weird version, the Madeline version of whatever that is. And it has a kind of a look. And when you're young, you feel bad. You're like, I don't look like everyone else. I have this unique style that doesn't communicate in the way those other pieces do. And then you eventually go, well, wait, that's my unique quality that I need to lean into.
Right.
This is my voice when I'm younger sounds like a little boy. Hey guys, what do you think of my art?
See, so you're not only teaching wine, you're teaching how to be self-respectful of yourself and learn more about the inner self and the true beauty within.
Yeah, when you create art, whether it's writing or anything like that, there is a huge amount of self-reflection of your work or critical analysis of your own works that you're creating. And I just did a poll, because I'm a little bit digitally minded, I crunched all the words on Wine Folly and I tried to come up with a number. And it was well over 1 million words on wine that I'd written and 4 gigabytes of illustrations. Like it was a
Wow.
massive amount of data between this time period. And with that amount of data, and you have to understand that while you're putting out work, people are giving you unadulterated feedback.
That is
And they are not afraid to tell you what they think, which is, on the one hand, it can be great, and on the other hand, it can be evil.
right.
But when it's useful, you end up being really hard on yourself a lot of times.
Yes.
But then when you can look back on a body of work and find something that's actually pretty good and be like, oh, that person there did a pretty good job. She was doing good that day. You can start to see this thing forming, your body of work. And I think that's maybe the coolest thing about being an author, an artist, or a creator of any kind, is to look back at your work and see what you've done and what worked. And the work that I'm the most proud of, it's funny, is not the ones with me in it. I don't like to, it's more like that really communicated well.
Right.
Like that really was the perfect way to draw. Like I have this infographic on soil types and I'm just like, that nailed it.
Nailed it. That is my favorite thing ever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I get that. It's I think that when you're on screen or when you're doing something, and I don't think either of us have any concern about being in front of people. I mean, we'll talk whenever. But when you're the one on screen and you're trying to give out information, I think it's just human nature to take away some of your focus of what you're saying, and that little bit of focus goes on to you yourself. And
Yeah.
I much prefer to just focus on, what I'm trying to educate about,
Yeah, I don't really want the focus on me at all. Because if
Exactly.
you were to look at me, you would see all of my flaws. Like anything that I have that is not quite perfect, because I am a deeply flawed individual. I'm sure, whatever. But there's idiosyncrasies, there's all these things. Is it what you want to look at? Am I what you want to look at? Is this the person that you're happy to come along on an adventure with on YouTube or whatever? So I think about that a lot and I try to craft who that person is. And that's weird, right? Like that's a weird choice to try to become something that you think somebody is going to want to watch.
That somebody else wants. Right. Right.
Yeah. And so that you create a character ultimately that is out there in the world. It is a piece of you. It's something that you've crafted. It's something that you're working with, but you're choosing what you want to show and what you don't want to show. And artists who are under the scrutiny of the visual light face those questions, and they are normal questions to ask if you are putting yourself out there. And so, getting back to the whole influencers, short form content. Those kids are facing that very early. And that's a very hard thing to face as an individual, because you kind of disassociate who you are. If you don't have a really strong core, you can lose yourself in your character.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've seen that happen, I would name names, but you can probably think of a few.
I think we can think of the same. Yeah. What I want to talk about is your collaboration with the different wine regions. And since I am Paso Robles, let's bring in Paso about that.
Woo.
Yeah, Paso, you are working with a partnership with the Paso Robles Wine Alliance, the wine country. And what you're doing is you're bringing attention to the region itself through a whole bunch of different avenues. I know one avenue is that I'm able to get my wines, Dracaena wines, onto the website where you're talking about, these wineries in Paso Robles are
Yeah, if
producing
you go and
Cabernet
look up,
Franc.
yeah, if you
Right.
go to Cabernet Franc and click on it, you can find your wine,
Right.
which is amazing. And so Wine Folly isn't just me now. In 2019, I merged companies with Global Wine Database, which is now Wine Folly Database. And I adopted some amazing tech talent, David Glozman and Aaron Glenn, who operate this database, essentially database technology that has it's built using the ontology of wine. So if you have a glass of wine, there's the grape variety, there's where it's from, there's the winery that made it, there's the producer that made that wine, that vintage, there's that wine, there's those individual vintages of wine, and there's that region that it's part of, and there's the location of the winery, and then there's the appellation, which are two different things that the wine is appellated as. And so with this ontology system, we're able to put strongly typed information in all those positions, so as a winery, you can add your winery and your winery location as well as the appellated wines that you have. And so when we look up Paso Robles AVA, we can see all the wines from Paso Robles AVA in one place, or we can sort them by grape variety and explore them, or type like rosé or sparkling. So,
And now, a word from our sponsor. Looking to be in the know about Dracaena wines? Want to be the first to know about our new releases and special offers? All you need to do is sign up for our newsletter. There is no commitment necessary, and I promise you we won't spam your mailbox with loads of messages. Need another reason to sign up? Quite possibly the best reason? You'll immediately get a discount code for 10% off your first purchase and be privy to newsletter-only discounts. Let Dracaena Wines turn your moments into great memories. Visit our website, www.dracaenawines.com, or use the link in show notes to sign up. It will take you less than a minute, but the rewards will last a lifetime.
this kind of thing is something that I've always wanted to have, because like when I'm looking up a region, I want to see the wines in the region. Like if we go to Northwest Spain, I don't know, I'm picking on Northwest Spain, to Galicia.
I'll go with you. I'll sign up and go with you.
Yeah, doesn't that sound great? And we are looking in Rias Baixas, and there's what of those 6 subzones in Rias Baixas or something like that. I want to go to one of those subzones and see the wines that are made in Valdesanas or whatever.
Right.
Like I want to know what's there. And I wanted that because when I write an article, I want to see what's there so I can figure out how to write the article. And so when I met David and he built this thing, I was like, how can I help this exist? This would be so cool to have. So now we partner with regions and we create these region guides that do exactly that. So we have them for like more than 15 places right now.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty in depth, but we plan to do the entire world. And that is going to be part of what is a Wine Folly Plus membership login, is this access to all the information that we have. Because if you expose it now to the world, it will just get stolen.
Which I'm going to bring this up because I'm not going to lie. Some articles, and when I do wine education, I use your thing. I do always make sure I give you credit, and it always very specifically says Wine Folly on there. Is that frustrating to you? On
the one hand, I'm really happy that that Wine Folly stuff is that useful, that it's chosen. On the other hand, it hurts because it doesn't come back to me. It's like listening to unlicensed music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for educators, we have Wine Folly Plus. It has access to all of our maps. You can use it. It's a membership model. It's an annual, it's $99 a year. So it's not that much money. And I think that would be a fair exchange for people who are using our stuff regularly. Not that I'm saying that I can go own it. Technically, that's a misuse of the copyright, but I'm not going to complain about it if they're a member. I think that's a fair exchange, and it helps me continue to make things.
Right.
I can't maintain 7 days a week for the rest of my life producing content for people to take and use. It's just not fair. So we've created this amazing login where you can access all of our detailed information. We're going to continue to fill it more and more as the time goes by. Currently, it has all 32 high-res maps, which is great when you're presenting on a region and you need to show a map. So that's one of the things that people are using it for already. So I think that's maybe the fair way of doing it. I think when, as a consumer using the tool, I'd like to have more educational aspects of what's inside of it, sort of fun guides to do, little challenges, maybe even games to help us fall in love with wine or spend time thinking about wine in a way that's productive. So that's essentially what this new thing is, and we're really excited about it. And it's actually, I think people are seeing the value and doing it, because we do have like since we started, I think we have over 500 members, maybe 600 members now.
Oh, wow.
Since we launched in January. So I'm really happy about that. To me, it's a clue that was the right thing to do. We started a wine club, and it's small and it's maintained the whole time, but it's not like blowing up the way that Wine Folly Plus is. I feel like Wine Folly Plus is actually what people want. It's interesting because I always wanted to have a wine club, and all the lights were red. Everything was against me. It was always something that I really wanted to do, and it never pulled off. Whenever I touch wine, it doesn't work out. But when I talk about wine and show wine and do tools about wine, that seems to be the way to go. So,
right.
So maybe that's my job, is to just draw lots of really cool pictures and help people learn about wine through art.
Yeah, I would say it's got to be very difficult, because on the one end, like I said, if I Google anything, 99.9% of the time, it's your work that is in that number one, number one slot. So on that end, it must be such a proud moment, such a wow, look at this, because that's all everybody wants, is to be in that number one slot. Oh, not even the number one slot. Most people just want to be on, that first half screen, but
Yeah.
you are always, consistently in that number one spot. And so your stuff is just everywhere. It is, Pinterest, it is on Twitter or X or whatever they're going to call it. It's everywhere. So like, what does that feel for you to know that I'm number one? Are you constantly, I can't imagine you falling out of it because there's so much information, but are you always trying to challenge yourself more?
Oh yeah, and the situation changes, and it has changed since last year, since the AI,
Okay.
and so it is a constant thing that is, well, what do we do now? Websites are no longer important. I mean, they're talking about removing all options past the first choice. If in the search, and if you go to search now, you see 10 ads in the scroll before you even see the top listed item. And then there's no-click content, which is doing a summary of your work. And so
Exactly.
you can't win, right? Like, this is that model of search engine optimization has opened and closed. And while it's still valuable and it's still a great amount of the traffic that we receive on our website, thank goodness, people actually want to know more and still continue to look up beyond what AI will tell them, because there's a lot of misinformation about wine and AI, I'll tell you that. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, how that was our organic marketing lane. That's how we found new people. And so what do we need to do to find new people now? So we've been asking those questions a lot.
I will say that when I use AI, I do always ask for with references, and I don't know if it makes you feel better, but it does come up with, it does say Wine Folly for
Yeah.
a lot of the things. But I will absolutely agree there. I'm going to forget, so I'll make it. I asked a question about a specific region, and what AI came back with was just not even not even close to, the little bit that I knew. I was like, okay, we're going away, and we're gonna go the old school route. But I agree. There's a lot of wrong with AI because there's a lot of wrong information out there,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
AI can only take what is out there,
Yeah, and it's
Um,
not, I mean, there's different models and things like that too that look at things differently. And in addition to that, access too, because access has changed dramatically. So which tool you're using, whether you're using ChatGPT or Gemini or DeepSeek or Claude, you need to use the right tool for the job. And then there's different types of AIs that look at different things, whether it's visual or whatever. The reading level now is very, very high, and the amount of research, if you're using something like Gemini, which is Google, so it has access to all of Google's research. But when it can't look at maps, it
right.
doesn't know where things are. It doesn't know. It's only looking at words and language. That's what it knows best currently.
Right.
I believe that will change, and it's rapidly changing already. But we're still in this period where, being a good communicator, knowing how to visually communicate, and knowing why someone would care is still very important. It's still a very important thing for people to do because AI can't do it. It can only mimic.
Like,
So I don't know. I like it as a tool, honestly. I use Perplexity all the time now because it's one of those ones that you can use different models depending on what you want, and I kind of want to see it all the options.
right.
So I use it all the time in my work to help speed things up or to help me communicate something better. Like, here's what I was going to communicate. Help me say it
Right.
better.
Right.
I
Right.
make it more concise, and then it'll give me a bunch of examples or whatever, or
Right.
I'll need to come up with a plan for something. So I think it's useful and it's going to be great and it's going to help us communicate better. But the question is, how do you get found now in this world?
Exactly. Exactly. And if you are, that's not reading the graphics or can't see those graphics or whatever, then that's, again, your Wine Folly is even more important in that aspect
Yeah,
because
we're
those
visual
graphics,
people.
yeah,
Yeah, about 80% of the information we take in, if not more than that, is completely visual, which makes me very sensitive to blind people, honestly.
exactly. Yeah.
Like everyone is so reliant on their visual, they don't know how to use their other tools as well. Which is why wine is so cool. You
Right.
know, it
Yeah.
teaches you how to use your
Use-
nose and your
yes.
mouth.
Exactly, exactly. If only we can figure out, well, you can do the hearing. You can do the hearing if it's sparkling, right?
That is ridiculous.
Do a
I
short
have
form of
seen
that. Do a short form of that.
I can
This
hear the
is
moose.
I'm going to say that I can hear the bubbles coming up. It is going to be a form of Prosecco because
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
And now, so going back to these region collaborations, you actually are coming to Paso, and you're going to be doing some wine education with the Paso Wine Fest. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit, because this will be live before that. So tell us what
Yeah, we're
you're.
doing Paso 101. You have a chance to get certified in Paso wine, and we're gonna do it. It's fast. It's like I think I have an hour and a half
Oh,
to
okay.
get people Paso 101 certified, and there's a lot to know. And if I get everyone on, if you have bring your phone, you will get a certificate you could put on your LinkedIn to say you have Paso 101 pass. So I'm very excited to do it. It's going to be awesome because, as you know, Paso has, since 2014, has 11 sub AVAs, and then there's York Mountain. So there's actually quite a lot to know, and there's over 60 different grape varieties that grow in Paso. It's really an enigma of a spot because it's very dynamic. And so we're going to learn about that dynamism, and it's going to be fun because talking about diurnal shifts sounds weird, but when you're talking about being cold in the morning and way too hot in the afternoon, that's a little bit better of how to handle the storytelling there. So that's what I'll be doing there, and it's right before the grand tasting, and we'll be tasting 4 really great wines in the seminar from around Paso. And my goal is that it inspires people to know what to look for when they're in the grand tasting, to be curious, to go find the results and and ask questions like, is this from Geneseo? Like if somebody walks out of that and is looking for Geneseo Cabernet Franc, I will be like, I have done my job.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I would love if people are looking for a Geneseo Cab Franc or an Australia Cab Franc. Those
Do you make white? Really?
Yeah.
Australia and Geneseo is where I would look for Cabernet Franc, and that'll be communicated in the course. So there we go.
Okay, I'm going to definitely try to get there, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that I can pass the Paso 101. So. And it is kind of funny. The 101, Paso 101, the 101 freeway is pretty important. So.
Yeah, it's actually, one of the only places we can do that. Maybe
right?
Sonoma.
Yeah, right. So we've talked about what you've done in the past and a little bit, but where do you see Wine Folly going? If you could ask Gemini to give you a path that you want to follow, where do you see Wine Folly in the future?
I think we want to be the side carry to your wine life ultimately, the carry along. So I imagine our presence on the phone is going to become more and more important as a tool to provide answers, as a tool to inspire, as a tool to discover, a discovery tool. And that is, that's the place where I think we need to be to help with that onboarding experience, just because there's once you start getting into wine, between you just getting into wine and you knowing enough to get dangerous and get yourself into some good wines is like, it feels like an insurmountable barrier. And then you have to take some hardcore, hospitality course in order to just get a basic knowledge of wine. And I think we can do that a little bit more in a more fun way. And if we can continue to create an experience that helps people onboard to have a really great foundation of wine so they are confident. That's my goal, is so that more people are confident, getting dangerous, having fun, getting themselves into some fun trouble, finding wines they like, and exploring the world through the lens of wine.
And now you said on the phone type thing, and something popped in my head. Do you potentially be that pocket psalm for somebody where, I'm what I have in my head, I'm thinking, the Zackies and things like that, where people can order wine, right? If you go to their website, they have the little pop-up where you can ask a question. And I've known a couple of people who work for those companies where they can be anywhere because it's just showing up on their phone, and they get called when somebody does that. I'm thinking, with all of that knowledge that's in your resources, that somebody could literally walk into a store and look at an Albarino from Ria Spicious and go, what the heck is this? And then dial in or text Wine Folly and say, what should I expect from this wine, or something like that.
That's a creative way of thinking about it. Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of a digital media experience, but
Oh,
I like the tooling idea there of some kind of OCR, sort of reading the image, determining what it is, using AI model that could potentially read through all the content to tell you what's there. Yeah, that certainly is humanly possible or digitally, technically possible to do something like that. I would say that sounds expensive to make right now. I don't know.
I was
I
literally
think,
thinking of just having somebody who can answer a text. That's what I wasn't even
oh,
going
like
to.
someone's on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I don't want to work 7 days a week anymore. But maybe that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
If it takes
I-
off and gets popular and you're getting 10,000 queries a day, that would be a good problem to solve.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know. That's what just popped in my head. I was like, oh, because your resource is so involved, even though I keep going back to it's simple, but it's so advanced at the same time, which is an incredible feat. But if somebody is part of, an extension of Wine Folly Plus, they have access to text questions or to speak to a person because
I'll
it's some
have to add that to the wish list. That's
there
a
you go.
crazy idea.
Right? See, helping you out there. All right. If you had to say, you're years and years and years down the road and you are sitting in your house, done with all of Wine Folly, you're just enjoying your quietness that probably would drive you insane. What's the one thing you want to remember the most, or what's the one thing that you want people to remember about you the most, or Wine Folly the most?
I would say that there's more to do. I don't know. I can't really go there in my head because I have so much I want to do before I die that I'm just gonna keep doing it until I do die. I don't know. I don't really reach for an end.
Right. Well,
I'm
as I
not
said, it'd
looking
probably be driving you crazy to sit
I'm
down and
not
not do
looking, yeah.
something.
I'm not looking to end. I think it's a process currently. People look at the book as an achievement, and I appreciate that. And it was a lot of work. I appreciate that it was appreciated. I think I have more in there. I think books are great. They're a great tool, and it is a great tool, and it's a fun adventure. I want to make more things like that. I'm currently interested in film and video. I think it's one of the hardest forms of communication there is because it involves so much sound, time, uh, humanity, storytelling, all this stuff that's those are challenged to me. They're challenged. It's not a natural thing. It's a new thing. It's like learning geographic information systems all over again, except it's with storytelling, which is to me is way harder. So I think storytelling is something I'm deeply interested in, visual storytelling, whether it's short form or long form content. I think the things that have moved me the most in history have been movies. They just have a transformative way of communicating and connecting to people's deep, feelings and sensations and goals and dreams and all this stuff. And I'd love to be able to connect with people like that. That seems like an outside goal for me. So that's what I'm not done with.
Okay. What
Yeah.
about traveling? Do you enjoy traveling? Or
I get really bad constipation when I travel. Recently I pooped on a plane though, and I was incredibly proud of myself. I was like,
you come out, you're like, yeah.
this is the first time I think in 20 years that I've pooped on a plane. This is
Oh.
incredible. And sorry to the
I think that's hysterical. I think it's hysterical.
But yeah, it's hard to travel, but I think the stories are out there, so I'll do it for that. I'm also vegan, so it's really difficult to travel because you can't eat food. And everyone's always trying to give you fish or pork or something. They're like, that's not meat. And you're like, all right.
Yeah. I'm a little worried about Sicily. I'm a little worried. They're all going to
Yes.
want to give me fish. They're all going to.
Yeah, that's not me. So yeah, so and then everything has cheese in it or butter or whatever. So you always
Which then
so
has
you
its
always
own problems.
so then you end up eating something that makes you really sick or whatever, and you're just like, oh man. But you know, you get through it because you
Right.
want to be there, and it doesn't matter, and it's fine. And turns out the best poor people food is all vegan. So like Calverde soup in Portugal. I'm gonna go to Portugal
Oh,
this
how
year.
nice.
And I am looking forward to that cabbage soup, my friends. That is some that is some Michelin rated soup right there.
Yeah.
It is really great stuff. And it's a cultural heritage of Portugal. So yeah, I'm looking forward. So you figure it out. But yeah, travel. If everyone says I love to travel, I love to have traveled.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I like being in the moment, but getting
Yeah.
there and getting back is especially from California is a lot of difficulty. But I got to go back to the poor man's dishes. That is so true. Because when I was in Spain, when I Humia, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Gachamia?
Oh yeah.
Um,
What's
it
it?
it's
What is
the
it?
poor man's basic porridge thing, and it was brought in. They make it in these massive pots so that when the field workers came in, it just was pure starch. It just was, just to bulk them up so that they can go back in the fields and work more.
That's awesome.
And everybody else on the media trip was getting this, these elaborate foods and all of this. And every meal I was getting,
Gochujang.
yeah. And everybody on the trip is like, are you not sick of that? Like, oh no, man, bring it. This is great. I'm all happy. So, but you're right. It is.
Yeah,
They are
it's also
vegetarian.
like a busy grandmother always makes the best dish
Yeah.
because she's got so much going on that she usually overcooks it or leaves it on the thing too long or whatever, and it gets the right amount of mwah.
But
And that I'm always looking for like busy grandmother, working man's
That's
food.
food.
This is the ultimate food in the world to me.
We need to go somewhere together so that they
I
can
want
just
a
serve
very
us both.
fine wine, but with a very simple food.
Right, exactly. That's fantastic. All right. Well, I want to thank you for spending your time with me. You are a pleasure to speak to, and I laugh a lot when I'm talking to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Paso. And I'm going to ask one more question. When you're on these trips, do you already know what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to plan it all out. You got to take every single step into every single thing, because if you're shooting film, you need to know where the shots are and what you're planning to do, and you need to make time and space for those things, and you have to have the right camera, and the audio needs to be set up. You got to super plan it out. So it's serendipity when it actually happens and goes off. But yeah, it takes a lot of pre-planning. All the best films take a lot of pre-work. The work is in the pre-work. So yeah, when we go to Portugal, we will be fully planned out, and then whatever happens will be the story.
Yeah. I was going to say, and then, sometimes you go to a region and you get wowed, like with something that you never even thought about, and then you got to pivot a little, right?
Yeah, I think press trips are changing because more and more people are doing video content, and they need to plan things out, and they need to know what's coming up in order to create great content. So yeah, there is a little bit of serendipity involved, and certainly that's something that you express, but I imagine they're going to be changing, because before we could just drag people around and woo them, and that was the experience, and then you write about it, this amazing experience that was transformative. But now we need to create that experience for someone else to watch, to be transformed. So you need to know what you're doing in order to perform it, I guess, to have it happen. because otherwise you're not going to get the shot
That's
when it's
true.
happening.
That is true. That is true. Well, thank you so much for spending an hour with me. I know you are super, super, super busy. So I appreciate you taking the time to be with me. And just curious if there's anything that I missed asking you about.
No, this is great. It's really great to catch up.
Yeah.
It's fun. I love geeking out about wine too. I would have probably liked that swale
So
seminar
cool.
too.
Well,
wouldn't have-
I am reaching out. I'm reaching out to try to write an article to a couple of people. So maybe I can, maybe eventually that will be able to be read. I'm trying to reach out to a few places to do that.
Wow.
And I don't know if that's,
Let
you
us
know,
know.
yeah, I will talk to you about that because it was awesome. And it actually is, it was so cool.
Yeah, that's
very,
cool.
very geeky. But thank you so much. And the Wine Folly Plus, they can just go onto your website and sign up for that.
Yeah, memberships are happening now, and it's an annual membership for $99, and you get
Which
access
is a
to
steal.
all of our maps and a resource that continues to grow.
Okay. And you still do have free access to some parts of the site.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So-
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Great talking to you. Great catching up. And hopefully I will see you in Paso on the 15th of May.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Sweet Merlot, give me the nappy, you know.
This has been another episode of Exploring the Wine Glass. Thanks for listening. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like me to discuss, please reach out on social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as Exploring the Wine Glass. I am also on LinkedIn as Lori Hoyt Budd. Of course, you can always email me at exploringthewineglass@gmail.com and sign up for my newsletter at exploringthewineglass.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find me more easily. And most importantly, tell your wine-loving friends because if you like the podcast, they will too. Podcast music is Wine by Key Vince. Until next week, slancha.
No, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Never let you go. Oh, oh. No, no, no. Never let you go. Oh, oh. I want a nice glass right now.